You're not better at Phil Ivey at, like, literally anything. You want me to tell you I think you're better than Phil Ivey at something? What? What do I think you're better than Phil Ivey at?
Ask me some dumb questions.
I'm not better at Texas Hold'em than Phil Ivey?
No, you're not better at Texas Hold'em than Phil Ivey.
You want to bet on what he would say?
Phil Hellmuth is the all-time leader in WSOP bracelet wins, and with that, he is the self-proclaimed poker GOAT.
I had already decided in 1988 that I was going to become the greatest poker player of all time. It was already a written goal. You will become the greatest poker player of all time.
However, fellow poker Hall of Famers like Daniel Negreanu have often harshly disagreed, contesting Phil Ivey as the absolute GOAT. In this video, we take a look back at this tense moment, seeing if Negreanu went too far or if he was right on point. Phil Hellmuth's poker skill level has long been called into question over the years, and even just recently, Bryn Kenney, who ranks #1 on the all-time money list, declared Hellmuth as the GOAT of AAA, but not the majors.
You know, he could be the king of AAA or something.
Yeah.
But he's not really in the majors.
AKA, he does great in easy fields, but doesn't stand a chance when up against the best in the world. The list of poker players that share this opinion is longer than you might imagine, so let's dive in, starting with what seems like a fun game of high-stakes poker after dark, where Negreanu and Hellmuth playfully critique each other's vocals.
I didn't say you know what you were talking about. I said you're off tune.
Oh, well,
Right?
that's
All I do is win. All I do is win. All I do is win. That's not how it goes.
I'll give you that.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. You go, all I do is win. All I do is win. All I do is win.
Up, and they stay there. And they stay there.
Okay, moving on. The show seems to be coming back from commercial break when Phil Hellmuth starts ranting about how all he did was play the greatest players ever for years. It's not totally clear how this topic was brought up, but Hellmuth gets irritated, randomly dragging Negreanu into it, which he will soon regret.
Now back to the action.
Here's what pisses me off. I played against, all I did is play against the greatest players, all through the 80s and 90s, because those are the only people that played the tournaments.
But everybody was bad back then.
I think it was really this moment that Hellmuth got really set off, and I can almost hear maybe Negreanu saying exactly in the background here.
But everybody was bad back then.
Except.
I don't know, maybe I'm hearing things, but let's see what develops.
Well, that's not fair.
Everybody was the best players.
Okay, so why don't you tell the story, and then when you're done, I'll tell my story.
Oh, you hit a nerve.
Don't interrupt me. Let me get my spiel in, or don't.
I like.
I don't want to. I don't want to play.
Nerves.
I don't want to play. I don't want to play the debate game where I just get cut off with bull. Daniel does that to me all the time. I don't want to hear
Daniel
it.
hasn't said anything. He didn't do anything.
Daniel's
but go
great
ahead.
at that.
But let's hear it. Go ahead.
I have to silence.
Guilty
Daniel
before you
I
do it,
start.
right?
You know how many times he's done this? He says, "Don't say anything. Let me finish, and then you can talk." Then I don't say a word. Right. Then I go, "Okay, so Phil, here's the thing. Within 3 seconds, he goes blah 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 blah."
Yeah, but then you call me out and I shut up.
Well,
I mean, a guy can be wrong, but admit he's wrong. Like, that's important in life. There's a lot of people in poker that don't admit they're wrong.
Phil's response to Daniel is just insane. He's like, yeah, I can be wrong, but at least I can admit it. Not many people in poker can do that. Like, cool, bro. It's total gaslighting, and Daniel knows it. He's just smart enough to not keep pushing. But let's see when things change.
Did you guys ever see the movie Step Brothers?
And Phil, to win tournaments, you have to play a bunch of great players, of course. But
So this is what pissed me off.
That.
Let me respond, and let's see if nobody interrupts me. Maybe I can fucking finish. All through the 90s, I played against the greatest players. They all played in the tournaments. I beat them all. Same thing in the 80s, right? And then all of a sudden, they developed this narrative that I'm not good against good players. So the very field that has all of the great young players are the turbos. And in the last 4 turbos, I have a first, a sixth, a fifth, 3 final tables, some crazy amount, 3 final tables in 5 years. And this is the one where I'm not supposed to compete because all the GTO guys, it's all math because the blinds go up so quickly. So it's f***ing aggravating for me.
You can literally see Daniel Negreanu's blood boiling here.
F***ing aggravating for me. I thought that the greatest poker player of all time was the one who was going to win the most bracelets. That's what I set out to do. I did that. And now all of a sudden, oh wait, you're not the greatest of all time.
Poor Maria here, trying to play a real hand of poker, while Hellmuth just keeps yapping.
You know, and so if people come and say, Phil, you're not the greatest today, I want a chance to prove I am, but I can't say that I'm better than a lot of the people because that's not fair to them. Not because they study, but because there's a lot of talented players out there.
Maria.
Right?
that also study.
Bets 22,500 on the river with backdoor spades coming
if you
in.
Study, if you study bad math, Do you become better at math?
How do you know it's bad if you've never studied it?
That's not my question to you. You want to say yes or no to the
Well,
question?
when you define something as bad math, okay?
I mean,
turn the nuts, Maria.
But to assume,
I'm actually having fun with you.
I know, but that's kind of like a really. I just know 57% is wrong.
Let me ask you a question, Daniel. This I think, and work with me. We can have a discussion together without being like,
Wow. Something good.
Maria Ho makes a great bluff and Wright a terrible fold, but the important story here is really this discussion that is gearing up.
Let me ask
His
you this,
5K
Daniel.
got called,
They
and then the
thought a whole
massive
group
bet of
kids thought
22-5 after
poker in
Wright
2005.
checked it,
I don't think that's true.
sends his
A whole
king
group of kids, they said,
into the muck.
it's hard to measure who the greatest cash game players are because there's a little buddy.
Well, I'm not even
What
talking about.
what
I'm not even. I'm talking about your genre, which is tournaments, and I'm saying the best tournament poker players in the world, right, today, are generally playing. I'm going to make it 6,000 in the high roller events. You're going to see better players generally in a 25K buy-in than you are in a $300 buy-in. I don't think that's controversial.
That's right.
I think it's pretty black and white.
Bruce Buffer, a man who is often around a lot of testosterone and tension, feels what's coming up and tries to change the subject.
So have you played Bilzerian, Phil, Dan?
Once or twice.
Did I win?
But thankfully for us, it doesn't work, and we are about to see bloodshed.
My bad, guys.
No, I do get mad at them moving the goalposts, and they're like, well, whoever wins the most money, then I just went out and won all this money. And they're like, oh yeah, but now you're not playing against the best to win the money. Like, I mean, Daniel's like such a politician. He changes the goalposts and changes and changes and changes. And
I think you're going to be up
frustrated.
against that forever, Phil.
Yep, agree.
5.
I didn't expect it from
It's
Daniel.
lonely at the top, isn't it?
Didn't expect it from Daniel, though.
You want me to tell you I think you're better than Phil Ivey at something? What? What do I think you're better than Phil Ivey at? Like, name it. I don't know. What am I supposed to give you here?
I'm not better.
Bingo.
Promoting yourself.
I'm not better
There.
at Texas Hold'em than Phil Ivey?
No, you're not better at Texas Hold'em than Phil Ivey.
You want to bet on what he would say? Because
Well, I already know what Phil would say. He's like, oh no, Phil Hellmuth's the best because he doesn't care like you do, right?
He doesn't care.
He's not. Well, he's not going to say something like to boost his ego or whatever. He doesn't give a people think really in that regard.
So his opinion doesn't matter.
Well, his opinion on who's better, he's going to say you because he wants action. Okay, he's a hustler, old school.
You hit
know what I'm
it.
saying?
You hit it.
Ivy knows
He doesn't
him
wanna-
better at Hold'em than he is, and he knows he's better at almost every other game than me. We discussed this. We know this.
You're not better at Phil Ivey at like literally anything except promoting yourself. That's it. That's all you got. Phil Ivey would mash you in every other format, and I'll bet my money on it. And if there's Phil Ivey, there's other examples, not even Phil Ivey.
Ouch.
Ouch, indeed. I gotta say, Phil has no one to blame here but himself. He kept pushing it, calling Daniel out, acting like the victim, and Daniel finally had enough and said what needed to be said. It seems like things are done, but we are just getting started.
Okay, heights and weights, guys. Heights and weights. Get ready for this. I need a microphone. I have a microphone.
Can we talk about CryptoPunks again?
Are you kidding? This is the stuff that's going to make you like.
Your results in high rollers, 25K no limit above. You have 0 firsts, 0 seconds, 0 thirds.
How much
That's
money?
not
'Cause
exactly.
You lied about me. You never corrected.
Wait, is
it.
that true or not? Is that a fact or not? Have you had a third or better?
Correct.
He's pretty polarized.
So what do you want to say? You can't beat the high rollers if you never beat them.
I'm up $1.5 million in high
Congrats
rollers.
on that. But like,
So why do you leave?
I just said a fact because I'm saying a fact. You've never
because
come
you're a
first,
politician.
second.
You just want to spin it.
Because is it true? Have you ever come first, second, or third in a 25K no limit or above?
No, but I'm up 1.6
No.
million.
Well, hold on. The fact is no. So you've never won. You've never come second. You've never come third. But you think that you're the greatest at that format that other people have won 30, 40 million in.
I didn't say I was the greatest at that format, Daniel. I thought that the greatest poker player of all time was the one who was going to win the most bracelets. That's what I set out to do. I did that.
Nick Wright asks a great question here, and Daniel responds magically, explaining why just because Hellmuth has a profit in high rollers doesn't mean he's beaten them over time.
Nick, how do you feel about your seat right now?
I love it.
I didn't say I was the greatest
but
at
your
that format,
plus
Daniel.
money.
That bet you want to make down.
Yeah,
Then I got a
more and more
question. I have a
attractive.
question for you.
Daniel
because
tweeted out
you're
that I was
obviously a
losing
sharp
money.
Did you
gambler.
call me or no?
No.
Good fool.
Daniel tweeted that.
I don't know.
You're
I'm.
obviously a sharp gambler.
I know you're polarized there, but you're
Daniel's
so
a
intense in
politician,
this
so-
conversation. Like, is he really pulling?
Even if you get, even
Out
if
of
you
5.
trap him, he'll
Ace.
talk his way out of it.
Since
which
you're
is interesting.
Straight.
because your bet with him is not he has to finish top 3 in a single tournament. It's that he has to show a profit.
Yeah.
And if lifetime he's shown $1.5 million profit in those
Because he's
tournaments.
played 7 of them. You know what I mean? It's like, and he played 2 of them, which are $1 million buy-ins. So if you look at his ROI, he's up like 1 buy-in. Actually, he's down. His ROI is negative, guaranteed. But he did cash in a $1 million buy-in
How could his
tournament.
ROI be negative?
Easily, because if you play a $1 million buy-in, right, and you cash for 2.6,
Yeah.
that's 1.5 buy-ins you've
Yeah.
won, right? So now you're up $1.5 million.
Oh, and then you're
but
saying...
then you play 25Ks and
and
50Ks
lose.
and all
I
that
got
kind
it.
of stuff,
Okay.
and you lose 10 of those. Now all of a sudden,
I get it.
your ROI would be minus 8.5 buy-ins, but your money would
I
look good.
understand. I got
Good,
you.
yeah.
Right?
Not
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
good.
You're saying it was
Queen
skewed
10
by
against
a
Ace
massive-
Queen
Yeah, skewed
3,
by an
but it
outlier.
does turn
So
into
can-
backdoor clubs
with
and a
the
gutter
back-
on the flop.
On top of all of this between Daniel and Hellmuth, we get to see Maria Ho get berated when the river comes a club.
Right.
So
So at least
you
we
got to
got
take
that.
the good
Wait
with the
for
bad.
it.
Why is California taking so long?
The tribes, any state.
That's what I heard. Yeah, the Indian.
Any
Yeah, the
state that
Indians.
has
Yeah.
a big tribal gaming representation.
100% you were going to bluff off the money to me.
For the last 15 years.
How do you get away with it?
Maria's braced for impact.
The article that the number one
Easiest player on the planet to
number
trap.
one sports betting location for someone
Got away with this against me the whole time we filmed, and now you're beating my hands
was
on top of
a
it.
Starbucks parking lot right off
What were you going to give me on the river, like a 50?
because it's the
Daniel, I hear Phil kind of talking to himself. I think he got under his skin a little bit.
Me? No.
Yeah.
no. Well, this
No, he
This
played
guy,
opponents
this
with
guy
me.
started.
I got it going. I got it
I
going.
was ranting, but everybody had a separate discussion. It's great.
Oh, I got you.
It's hard to separate the audio.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll pull it out of your mic, I'm sure.
Before this show started, Daniel Negreanu was actually interviewed about how to make Phil Hellmuth tilt. And funny enough, he describes basically exactly what just happened.
Phil Hellmuth is definitely my favorite player to play against in the entire world, and you just hope that by the end of the thing that you get at least one they, right? Because I knew I made it in poker when he called me a they. He's like, they just don't understand. And I was like, I'm they. I'm part of they. I made it.
You are they. So what's the easiest way to make Phil Hellmuth tilt?
Well, there are some ways you can go real deep and cut, but he doesn't like that. Like when I make the joke about coaches and stuff, he's I don't know, he takes that very, very personal. Or questioning his legacy or anything like that. Oh.
While Negreanu's reaction on the show may have seemed extreme, it's important to note this is not the first time Daniel has shared this opinion.
Here's the thing with Phil. He takes it very personal when I say this, and he doesn't hear the compliment. He only hears the negativity. Because Phil wants to be considered the greatest of all time.
Hashtag positive.
He wants to be the greatest of all time.
Yes.
But I'm like, Phil, here's the facts. You have the best, absolute greatest resume at the World Series of Poker of anyone in the world. Is that not enough? Right? That's what you have. You have that, right? Now, do I think you're the best no-limit hold'em player in the world today? No. Do I think that, you can play high-stakes mixed games with the best players in the world today and win? No, right? So he wouldn't get as much flack on this topic if he wasn't so boastful and demanding. Like you never hear Phil Ivey say, I'm the best in the world. Like his peers do, right? But Phil wants to make the claim, and I simply say, I beg to differ. Right? I beg to differ. Like, I don't think you are the best player in the world.
Along with Negreanu, Tony G actually highlighted the pattern of Hellmuth routinely playing the worst players.
It's sad, and he's afraid to ever play me again, so that's sad. But he can play sort of the amateur players and have his own, but obviously he can't handle it at the top level. That's why he doesn't turn up to these sort of, very challenging events.
While Tony is serious here, of course, there is some level of humor.
I'm kind of, winding him up to have a heads-up challenge with me and just to prove to the whole world that he's a better player than me. Because on all the TV we've done together, he's just failed, to beat me. So I just want to see if he can beat me one day.
As Tony G puts it, winding Hellmuth up is part of the game. For one, Hellmuth truly isn't considered one of the toughest opponents by today's standards, so people like Tony G, Bryn Kenney, Daniel Negreanu, and others aren't afraid to challenge him. But he draws attention and views, something everyone at this level values. When looking at Bryn Kenney's perspective, it's key to consider his full argument, which focuses on Hellmuth's current playing style. Bryn acknowledges Phil's WSOP success, but explains why he can't be considered the GOAT, noting that Hellmuth largely avoids high-stakes events.
Yeah, he's the biggest winning WSOP player. He has his career, which is impressive too. He's played a lot of big field tournaments and has been successful in those throughout time, even winning bracelet events. But he's played some high rollers and hasn't really fared very well in them. I think when you think about who are the best players in poker, if you're not competing at the highest level, you can't really be in contention for it. It's almost like you could be the head of some subcategory that exists somewhere else.
Right, like a casual tournament.
Yeah, WSOP. He's number one in WSOP, player. okay, cool, but WSOP has huge fields. What about when you play the small fields with the best players?
Yeah.
Then you really see how good you are at poker.
He thinks he's the GOAT of everything.
Well, I mean,
but a lot
he
of people,
says that he is.
Yeah, he
online.
self-proclaims. Yeah.
He doesn't want to play me heads up. He doesn't want. If he's looking to ever make like a huge bet in the World Series, like I'll consider playing a whole WSOP series. And show him that he's not even the best at those either.
Wow.
Phil soon took to X responding with, quote, "To me, the WSOP is the big leagues. Always has been, always will be. It's aggravating to me when people lie about me and my legacy. For the record, I am winning over $1.5 million in high rollers. Easy to confirm this on Hendon Mob. You said I wouldn't play you heads up. Where were you when I challenged the entire world to a $1.6 million heads-up challenge on high-stakes duel? Hashtag positivity." Bryn clapped back saying he has been there since the beginning, but he knows that, Phil Hellmuth gets to pick his opponents, and Bryn offered him a crossbook on any Triton series, which, they are the high rollers. And that's where things have ended with the two. On another podcast, Hellmuth is asked if there is anyone in poker he fears. He confidently says no, but admits that Phil Ivey has often been a challenging opponent, calling him, quote, "one of the best."
I don't have any fear. I will say this. There are people, it's a weird thing, and you know this, it's called holding over somebody. So you just notice that one guy just always beats you, right? Day after day, week after week. It's a weird thing. There's no mathematical explanation, right? And so it just so happened that the guy who beat me all the time was Phil Ivey, great player.
Very great player.
But when certainly one of the greatest. If not the greatest,
The irony isn't lost on us, Phil. We know exactly what you mean. Now, despite the critiques of Phil's current skill level and his self-proclaimed status as the GOAT, you have to respect his achievements and give credit where it's due. His playstyle may be non-theoretical and sometimes seem baffling, yet it often works. This is something Daniel Negreanu also recognizes.
If we can linger on the compliment so he can hear it, what makes him so good? Because it seems like a lot of times his play is not optimal.
Yeah, he definitely has his own brand of and style of play, right? He does not adhere to, he's never used a solver in his life. He doesn't know, he's not in that world, right? Phil has a lot of faith and a lot of confidence in what he does and that it will be successful. And I think there's something to be said about that, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't ever lack in belief that he can win, and he finds a way to do it his way. And frankly, a lot of what he does is very effective against specific types of players who are intimidated by him, but whether it's his resume or his demeanor or his attitude sometimes, right? Like if you're an average player and then, you beat Phil in a hand, you're going to hear it. Mm-hmm. This idiot from Northern Europe and beat me in this pot. And for some people, they don't like that. So he can use that against them. But I also think too, he cares so much, right? And that leads to trying really, really hard. He sees these moments and he doesn't phone them in. Whatever brand of poker he plays, he tries his best at all times to succeed and to win. And there's some, even though he's fundamentally flawed in a lot of things that he does compared to some of the bigger players, his effort and will and his determination to stick around is up there.
And he is somebody who seems to really hate losing.
Yes. Yeah. He feels like he deserves to win. Yeah. Right. In all cases. And if he loses, it's,
River card.
100%.
Oh, it's a jack. Yes. Look out.
Yes. 100%.
Start the car, Ange. Start the car, baby. Let's go.
100%, right? Wow.
Start the car.
Wow.
Anybody? Phil, I've got an address if you need to send some.
Buddy, I told you to, all right, you want me to quit? All right, I'm going to quit.
No,
I can't play with you anymore.
I don't want you to quit.
You're such an Let's play.
Oh.
Even though Hellmuth has blocked me on X for reasons I can't quite figure out, I still enjoy him. He is entertaining and the game could always use more of that. But Negreanu and others make a solid point. If Hellmuth wants to be considered the poker GOAT, he needs to step up and consistently compete in the toughest lineups, the ones full of the math guys, as he calls them. Take Daniel, for example. Many doubted he could keep up with the elite, but he has proved us wrong time and time again, and my respect for him has only grown. Especially when he took on Doug Polk, I think he did a lot better than expected. For me, Phil Ivey still holds the GOAT title in poker, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some more of my others, like this one, where I did an entire documentary on Tony G's life.